is Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team, and your host, Randy Tobler.
It is not Randy Tobler. It is not Stephanie Bell. It is Wake Up Missouri with your two amigos of morning fill-in. It's John Marsh, Peter Thiel, and our boy Drake Whitman's here. Great news throughout the morning. Lots of stuff going on. How was your weekend?
Okay. Kind of hot.
Yeah, I'm in February when it was like 10 below and stuff like that. I'm going, you know what? I could go for a nice 95-degree day.
Yeah.
Then you get that 95-degree day, and you're going, you know what? I can at
Bring
least
back
put
the single digits.
Yeah, I can put on a jacket and a sweater. I own those things. There's and I don't think people want to see me less dressed than I already was walking through the neighborhood.
There you go.
And the sunburns, man. I'm sunburnt to a crisp right now. It's terrible.
It's that's why you don't go outside. You live indoors and you take vitamin D. It's look at the sun as essentially skin cancer-orama. It's like smoking for your skin.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the sun, dermatologists would have to have real jobs.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's just, sometimes, though, you have people who have, like, the flaky skin, that type of thing. Yeah, and you need a dermatologist for that, or when you got a 15-year-old with a zitty face.
You do. Or Drake with his sunburn.
Does, Marsh, are you bothered by male cheerleaders, the way that they're being displayed in the NFL?
Man, you took my number one topic for the morning right out of my mouth. It's like, college has male cheerleaders, and they're the bottom of the pyramid. And
but they're not dancing.
The ladies.
Yeah, they're not dancing like exotic dancers, though. It's your male cheerleaders in college ball are raising the ladies up.
Yeah.
It's trying not to be arrested for upskirt photos. I mean, it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, so I'm in college right now, and I can testify to this. I mean, if you're going to compare the cheerleaders from the NFL to the cheerleaders in college, it's nowhere close. What you'd compare them to is like the Golden Girls, the dance team, that kind of, the really pretty and the really just cheering for the team. They don't do extra competition.
I'm just trying to figure out what the point is for guys who are out there dancing. I'm and if there's a member of the LGBTQ plus community, conservative gay folks, which there are a lot, by the way, not a lot, but there's some. Is there a big enough gay and lesbian crowd that shows up to an NFL game that, seeing a man dance like an exotic dancer is an appealing thing?
Same part of the crowd who wants to see nothing but Taylor Swift and could care less about the ball game.
It's, I don't quite get it. I don't know why the NFL is going down this road. I don't think there's a particular market for guys dancing around like exotic dancers on the NFL field.
Yeah, the whole DEI thing in the NFL seems like kind of a strange fit, but maybe not. We think about Michael Sam, the former Mizzou standout who was openly gay and went on to become the first openly gay player in the league, albeit he didn't have a big, long run.
What, did he play like a year or two?
I think a year.
I can still remember when he came out and said that he was a gay player, someone went and interviewed his father. And his father goes, "My son's no gay guy. He's a football player." Okay. All right. Very good. Chiefs played a lot of preseason football over the weekend. I'm ready for a couple of weeks from now when we get real NFL ball in. Very, very excited about it. It's I'm really excited. And I hope this is the year that Travis Kelce gets that one more Super Bowl and is able to retire to his billions of dollars that he has waiting for him in that one. Would you call Travis Kelce a gold digger?
I don't know. He's got his own dough, but he sure hitched himself to a pretty loaded star in more ways than one, didn't he?
Yeah. So go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's money that he's really dating Taylor Swift for. I think it's more of a, status and a diva digger. That's what he is. He's a diva digger.
All right.
New phrase.
It's. I think that's good.
I think that's very accurate.
And again, I just I go through, and all I'm interested in right now, I'm interested in heck just to see what goes on with the Chiefs this year. Obviously, we're at a point now with the Cardinals that's sort of fading away. Mizzou's kicking in. It's I think the third 10-win season in a row is really a possibility, primarily because of all the home games that Mizzou is getting. Playing on the road in the SEC is no joke. No. That is a tough place to go, and I don't care who you're playing. You could be playing Vandy, or you could be playing Mississippi State's the one that always stinks, right? It's going into those stadiums and winning is a very difficult thing. As we remember last year, for the University of Alabama lost at Vanderbilt, which is an amazing campus, by the way. That is, it's in Nashville. If you've done the Nashville visit, I have some friends who live in Nashville, so I get over there occasionally. I'm not a country music guy. I'm not really kind of an out in the club bar guy. Just not sort of my thing. Now, I'm no teetotaler. I'll have a drink and or have a bourbon or whatever. But I'm just not an out in the club sort of guy. I just, it's just not sort of my thing. I like seeing live music. That's great. But if I'm going to see live music, I'm going to see rock or alternative most times, even though I've seen, a wide variety of concerts. Are you a big concert guy, John?
Not anymore. Used to go to a bunch of them back in the day. How's that sound?
Yeah, I used to have, I know people that all they do is hit concerts. All they do. My brother and his
big
wife.
Concert person.
Yeah,
Stephanie
she likes hitting some concerts. My brother and his wife go to a lot of shows. I like going. I enjoy shows. I just, my schedule-wise, if it does not involve around, if it's inconvenient around my work life, I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. It makes it kind of tough, get up, crack of dawn kind of stuff and do that. It was fine when we were a little younger.
Yeah, well, it's even then. I was up at 5 a.m. when I was in my early 20s working in radio, and I had to be, at the station at 7 o'clock in the morning every day, so I was not out raising Cain. It's Wake Up Missouri. John Marsh and Peter Thiel in for Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell. Stephanie returns mañana. That's Spanish, everybody, for tomorrow. Scott Vaughn will be with us at 7:10. I'm interested to see, is the special session happening to redistrict? I think Missouri has a tougher argument than Texas does for redistricting in this aspect. Texas has had just a huge growth in population over the last 5 years. I mean, it's legitimate. This is out of whack because of all the people moving there. The redistricting makes all the sense in the world. Missouri, our population is not growing like that. We're not losing anybody. We're just not growing like that.
Yeah, we don't have the transplants like Texas is getting with their...
Or Tennessee or Florida.
Yeah, with their no-income tax states, et cetera, and all the business breaks that people are looking for.
Yeah, Arizona and Nevada the same way. No tax states. My parents retired to Washington State because it's a no-tax state. And they loved it up there. They retired to Bellingham. And Bellingham's closer to Vancouver than it is Seattle.
Yep.
but the fly in to go and wrangle the senior parents, not that easy.
I have friends who are reaching retirement age, and they're headed to Washington as well in retirement.
Yeah, no, it's a gorgeous state. I love Washington State. I enjoy Texas, except I would never want to live in Houston, Austin, or Dallas. I would not want to be in those areas.
Houston, that is one of the most dangerous cities in the country as well.
It's my deal is with it. Houston is too damn hot and humid, and they get hurricanes. Not that excited.
No, thank you, no.
Dallas is hotter than hell. They get the twisters, kind of on the same, a little bit more than what we do here on an average year.
Terrible traffic in Dallas for Fort Worth.
Yes, and Austin, the traffic is even worse. Austin is sort of the place to be. There's a lot of, if you like comedy, if you enjoy stand-up comedy, that is now the place you want to be in this country. All the comedians are moving there.
Keeping Austin weird, isn't that their slogan?
Well, yeah, Joe Rogan opened up this comedy club called the Comedy Mothership. Kill Tony is done there every week. Shane Gillis just moved to Austin. A wide variety of top comics have moved to Austin. It is the place to be for them. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. We're on proud radio stations like KWTO, KWOS, and 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up, the DC Rundown with John Marsh. That comes up at 6:25 right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.
You're listening to Wake Up Missouri.
Wake Up Missouri. I'm Peter Thiel, John Marsh, Drake Whitman. We're all with you this morning. Stephanie Bell returns tomorrow. I'm very, very excited. But now it's the morning D.C. rundown with himself, Captain, District of Columbia, John Marsh.
That's it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky heads into a high-stakes White House meeting with the president today as Washington considers security guarantees for Kyiv, and the debate intensifies over land concessions to Russia could end the war. Zelensky, flanked by key European allies at the White House, an overture signaling Europe's determination to rally behind Ukraine. Marco Rubio clashed with Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan yesterday, accusing her of pushing a stupid media narrative. She said, there's concern from the Europeans that Zelensky is going to be bullied into signing something away. But Mario was quick to interject as the two talked over each other. That is not true. They're not coming here to keep Zelensky from being bullied. And First Lady Melania Trump wrote her own peace letter to Vladimir Putin, telling him it is time to protect children and future generations around the globe. President Trump hand-delivered the letter to the Russian leader, and Putin read it immediately as the delegations looked on. So Melania got more response out of him than the rest of us did.
I have a feeling that she also wrote did it say what language the letter was in?
No, that was my thought too. But
she speaks like 5 languages, and I think Russian is one of them. Yeah. And so that's a pretty impressive deal. I will tell you the one thing. I speak some Spanish, not very well, but I can go into a place where people are speaking Spanish. I can follow along the bouncing ball.
You can tell if they're calling you smart alecky names.
Yeah, I know all the swear words in Spanish. I know them all.
My best friend in college was from Nicaragua. So
okay,
yes.
Yeah. So you picked him up, and so you look at. I will tell you, when it comes to school, the things that I wish I would have paid more attention to, languages, and I really wish I would have spent more time with literature. I had required books to read, and everyone was pretty important to me. When just looking back, college, the courses I remember the most fondly are math and literature. And mainly because I found it very challenging. I took a math logic course because for whatever reason, high school geometry and college geometry, I didn't get it. It went right over my head. College algebra, snap.
Really?
Yeah.
Usually most of the people you meet in this business have no math skills whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not saying I have great math skills. I'm not underselling it. Or overstating my math skills whatsoever. I don't necessarily, that's not really was necessarily my gift. What I do remember, though, is that the lit courses were fantastic, discussing the books. I really enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed sociology courses as well, history. But that's what I really, really kicked into while going to school. And
that's admirable. The classics, which we probably should have all read back in the day, most of us didn't read most of them.
Which classic book do you wish you would have read or would read now that you just haven't, John?
Oh boy, I guess you could say something cerebral like War and Peace, but maybe some of the Dickens books.
I did not. I started it, and it was just not a college or high school thing. But I really want to read it, and I actually physically have the book, and I started it, and I just didn't finish it. Moby Dick by Melville. Coming up on Wake Up Missouri at 6:36. How much money will it take for you to sell your soul? What would it take? That's coming up next on Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. Peter Thiel, John Marsh in for Randy Tobler, and Stephanie Bell. Producer Drake is here as well. How much money, John Marsh, would it take for you to sell your soul? What would it take? Is it money? Is it drugs? Women? What is it that would take you to sell your soul?
Fame and fortune? Well, I don't know. Don't want to be a virtuoso blues guitar player. Probably live without that. It brings me back to we were talking concerts earlier.
Yes.
I was backstage with the band Black Oak, Arkansas. If that tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah, that wasn't yesterday.
No, their lead singer, Jim Dandy, as I tried to interview him as he drank an entire fifth of Jack Daniels and got in my face and told me, I sold my soul for rock and roll, to which I responded was, I think the devil got the short end of that deal.
Yes.
And he thought it was funny. It's it's a laugh a minute. And so I go in, and Nicole Wallace used to be on Bush 2, George W. Bush's team, communications team, and she has sort of remade herself as a TV journalist over at MSNBC. So she went on and on for years over there as being, quote unquote, one of their Republican voices. And then Donald Trump showed up, and TDS rained upon her like there's no tomorrow. So she said on Friday that, quote unquote, and I can't say what she said, but that President Trump doesn't give a bleep about democracy. I'm going to tell you what democracy is. All right, we don't live in a democracy. It is it's a constitutional republic. But let's let Nicole's ignorance by here for a second. Part of the thing about democracy is we had a lot of it last year. We elected a guy named Donald John Trump to be president 47. That's democracy. That's how it works. And anyone who sits there and opposes Donald Trump, saying that it's undemocratic, don't understand what the meaning of the term is. I see these people all over the place holding up the thing, defend democracy. Well, defending democracy is on voting day. You go out and you vote, and whoever wins, wins, and you go on from there. There have been times I have not liked. I was not very happy when Joe Biden won. Obviously, Barack Obama winning. Not happy. But I accepted it. I'm an adult. The Democrats and MSNBC seem to be filled with children, absolute children. And Nicole Wallace, who was a quote unquote a conservative Republican, seemingly was thrilled about selling her soul for money. Now, would I change my point of view on politics for $5 million a year? I don't know if I could do that. Probably give it a heck of a shot.
I just don't know. There are way too many people who sell their soul for money, and some of the people who sell their soul for money, it's not a good way to finish it. Having a lot of money does not make one happy, does not bring one peace, does not bring one satisfaction. Once you buy a couple of houses and you have a couple of nice cars, what do you have after that, really?
Yeah, we can fly to Paris for breakfast every other Thursday.
I mean, it's at some point, you go and you make a ton of money. And I'm not criticizing people who are very successful, make a lot of money, who've done a lot of stuff to get it done. In my point of view on this is that there's a time where it becomes a lost leader, is that if your life becomes about the money and not about the accomplishment and the satisfaction that you are able to enjoy on an everyday basis, it's not a good exchange.
Well, and like in this business, and I'm sure you can relate to it, how we kind of give some of our former colleagues an albeit tongue-in-cheek hard time for, quote, selling out and leaving the business to go into, the marketing side of politics or something along those lines.
Yeah, again, my deal here is that I have seen people, and we all have in one way or another, sell out their principles and what they believe in just because of, sometimes for just little things. What would be the cost to sell your soul? And for Nicole Wallace, obviously, we know what that price is. She has done it. I don't know her. I've never been around her. Some of the people at MSNBC I've been in the presence of. I've been in the presence of Rachel Maddow a couple of times. Very aloof, not very engaging, and that's fine. There's a big radio conference coming up right after Labor Day that I'll be at. And there will be people that, if this follows up, this is going to be in Manhattan. There will be people who show up from the MSNBCs, that will show up from, different organs, CNN, stuff like that. And some of these people are perfectly fine to be around. Some are not. Some are not that great to be around. But I look forward to it. I'm much more interested in people being authentic than people going out and selling their soul because of a certain ego type thing. And I don't know if I could live with myself if I did what Nicole Wallace is doing. I just don't know. I don't think I can.
It'd be a hard line to walk because, once you've established yourself in a career and all, it's pretty obvious that you're on the conservative side of the house to flip it to that side. And like you said, MSNBC of all places, that'd be a tough sell, not only to the general public, but to yourself.
Yeah. And again, I just, and I don't criticize anyone. Hey, if you need a job, get a job. I don't go out and do this, but originally her role, Nicole Wallace's role at MSNBC, by the way, it's Wake Up Missouri, John Marsh, Peter Thiel. We're in for Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell, here on the wonderful Zimmer Radio Network on three great radio stations, KWOS 93.9 The Eagle and KWTO. We're very fortunate to be a part of this lineup and to be a part of what goes on with this radio station. But I look at people and what they will do for power and influence, how they will lie, how they will keep away from being authentic. It's I would rather be around somebody who is authentic than somebody who is willing to do what Nicole Wallace, because it's just that line of I'll just take the money and heck with my personal mores, my personal beliefs. It matters none to me. It's write me that check, give me that green, give me that paper.
No, it's pretty obvious when she landed on The View.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, wait a minute. Wasn't she one of W's top-ranking communications person? Now she's, like, doing the pivot seat on The View. It's like, whoa, talk your sellouts. But that was pretty much the bottom line right there.
Yeah, and I don't quite get again, I know that show gets talked about a lot because it's basically a group of older mean girls. And it's not in the way I think that it was originally designed and intended. It was supposed to bring a bunch of people together of different cultural backgrounds, different ideas, and allow them to go from there. Now it's basically only one idea and no real discussion and yelling and screaming. I'm not necessarily all about that. I like good discussion.
And the righteous indignation.
Oh, yeah. If you want to talk about, I'm sick of people, by the way, who are virtue signalers. It's
a lot of that going around.
It's a lot of it going on. And we all probably do it to one extent or another. But it's like you've been somewhere where all of a sudden goes, yeah, we have a rescue dog. Okay. And the dog rescued us. Probably not. Unless the dog jumped into Lake of the Ozarks and pulled you out after you had a brain amoeba. Probably not.
Or the neighbor was routing natural gas into your bedroom or something.
Or the infamous bumper sticker. Total virtue signaling with no delivery at all. Another Missourian for climate action. And they all drive, every one of them, those climate action people drive crappy cars that get terrible gas mileage that are polluting like there's no tomorrow. I would have a much better feeling for it if they were in a vehicle that was newer and fuel efficient.
Yeah,
or a hybrid or an electric.
25-year-old Volvo laying a smoke screen as they go by with their coexist bumper sticker.
Yes.
Right
Well, now coexist is gone. It's we're now back to the resist time.
Yes,
they're resisting, and I think that's great. And so people have taken off those coexist bumper stickers. They now have resist, and because when a Democrat's president, they think we should coexist with the Democrat who's president. These people also think that when there's a Republican president, you have to resist because of democracy or whatever the hell they're doing. Yeah, the virtue signaling thing that drives me nuts. It's be yourself.
It's alive and well.
It's go ahead and be yourself, whatever that is. And it's because you're for climate action, it doesn't mean you're a good person. Doesn't mean you're a bad person either. It just doesn't. Coming up at 6:52 right here on Wake Up Missouri with John Marsh and Peter Thiel. In for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. We're going to have more stuff. Vacation, by the way, now means rabies. And that's on its way exclusively on Wake Up Missouri.
This is Wake Up Missouri.
It's John Marsh, Peter Thiel in for Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell. Stephanie will be back mañana, and I look forward to that. Now, have you ever been to the Grand Tetons, John Marsh, in Wyoming?
Yes, as a kid.
Yeah, I did too, and it was fantastic. It was a great vacation. Got to go to Yellowstone, do all that. Well, apparently hundreds of people have been exposed to rabies in bat-infested cabins at Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park.
Oh, boy.
And nothing like good old-fashioned rabies to kick off your day in a smiling sort of way. When we stayed there as a family, we stayed at the ski lodge during the summer. So we were not in one of these cabin-type setups. But we went up and spent a couple of days at Yellowstone. We did that whole trip. It was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed that. Wyoming's just terrific. I really love Wyoming and Montana as well. Those are beautiful states.
Yeah,
beautiful states all the way around. Now,
same thing as a kid. Yeah.
Now, have you ever had the rabies shots, Marsh?
No, but know people who have had.
Yeah, I have some friends of mine that I used to work for, and they've got dogs. They've got those Bernese mountain dogs.
Oh, sure.
They're gorgeous, and they're very serious. They exhibit them, and they have puppies occasionally. One of their dogs came in and handed over a dead bat to one of them and dropped it in her hand.
Yipe.
So the dog and the woman had to go and get the rabies shots. Not good.
No.
And I understand that's very uncomfortable. It's a very painful sort of shot. One would hope they would set you up with perhaps a little painkiller before doing it, maybe a Xanax, and before you get that shot, because that apparently it sucks. Apparently it is awful.
Had a friend of a friend locally who got bitten by a bat inside his own house trying to shoo it out and ended up having to get the shot.
Well, here's the problem. If you get a bat in your home, most bats are under some sort of federal protection. So when I was a kid, we had a couple of things with bats in the house. We ended up having to have like a bat, a person come in and seal the house and kick the bat out and all that sort of stuff. And you just bring out the tennis racket.
That's my cousin and I used to do at my grandma's house about every year.
Yeah, you whack the bat with the tennis racket. They have a tough time seeing it because of going through and stuff like that. But technically, if you're killing a bat with a tennis racket, you're committing a federal offense. And I think now this goes back long enough that I think I'm innocent, and I was also a child at the time when I killed the bat.
Guilty as charged.
Yes. So it's so Cash Patel and the gang will be showing up at Zimmer Radio headquarters, looking for the great people at Zimmer Communications and going out and finding Marsh and Thiel.
That's right. Looking for bat DNA on our pickleball rackets.
Yes. Have you ever played pickleball?
I have not.
Yeah,
I have been coerced several times by Jen Bukowski and all, and I have.
Oh,
not
I know. She's all in on it. I have done whatever I can so far to avoid it, and it's
played a lot of racquetball back in the day, so I could probably master it.
Yeah, at tennis, I played a lot of tennis. It's when I was a little kid, and this sort of like took off again when I was in high school, was badminton. And which I thought was strong. Scott Vaughn is going to be joining us at 7:10 right here on Wake Up Missouri. What's going on with the redistricting? Is there an actual case? Does the governor actually like it or not? Those are all questions we don't know the answer to. It is Peter Thiel and John Marsh on 93.9 The Eagle, KWTO and KWOS, Zimmer Radio Network. Wake Up Missouri. No Randy, no Stephanie. You get John Marsh, you get Peter Thiel. How'd you get so lucky? Really? Okay, but we'll let it go at that, and we'll speak to our friend Scott Vaughn. Scott, you are on Wake Up Missouri. Where are we on this redrawing of the maps?
It's going to happen. I guess systematically, the governor he might give it another week before he calls a special session. It'll be congruent with veto session, and the word's been sent down from Washington, and they're going to do it.
Okay, very good. Now, it's dealing with herding of cats, which seems to be the Republican delegation in Jefferson City. Is this pre-drawn, and all of a sudden, Cindy O'Loughlin and the gang just force it down the throats of the legislature to do it a certain way? Or will this become a big debate thing where nothing gets done?
Oh, I don't think there'll be a debate. I mean, this isn't a Cindy O'Loughlin thing. This will be sent from Washington, completely done, and the order is given to do it. And they are like herding cats on issues that affect Missourians. But when a Washington Republican tells a Missouri Republican what to do, it is, yes, sir, may I have another? There'll be no debate. The Democrats will obviously say this is ridiculous. And I think the fair point for Republicans say, well, look at Illinois. I saw Barack Obama this weekend put out a tweet where he was basically saying Republicans drawing ridiculous-looking partisan maps was a threat to democracy. Well, I don't remember the good president saying that when his home state drew the most blatantly corrupt partisan map you could draw. I honestly don't think even the Washington folks will make Missouri Republicans draw a map as bad as Illinois, but this will be a total Washington thing that's rubber stamped in the Capitol. Likely the Senate will come in the week of veto session, and once they've rubber stamped it, the House will come back in the next week and they'll rubber stamp it, and that'll be that.
All right, very good.
Well, Scott, what do you think of the 7-1-6-2 debate that we saw so much back and forth on when they went down this road before?
I think there's two angles to take it from. From a Republican, you do a 7-1, it could end up a 5-3 in a bad Republican year. You go back, John, gosh, we're old, 06, 08, those would have been years you could have saw easily a 5-3 map with good candidates on the Democrat side, which they frankly, when you depleted your bench so low, it's sometimes hard to find a good candidate, especially in a swing area. You might have one or two of your members of the legislative delegation even in one, and it's hard to get folks to run. But, I think with Donald Trump, if Donald Trump is on television every night, and if he is the face of the Republican Party, people can think what they want. This state loves Donald Trump. They vote for him on levels barely seen since FDR and Lincoln. They love the man, and as long as he's at the top of the ticket or on or at the front of the Republican Party, there'll be a 7-1 map as long as he's there. Now, the other side, is it right? Of course not. But I mean, this is wrong. Anybody you talk to privately except the suburban Republicans, they're their own brand of nuts. But you talk to a rural Republican, they'll tell you privately, this is wrong. I don't think we should do this. But what are we supposed to do? Donald Trump has a hold on that party. Whatever he says to do, they do immediately without question. John, look at tariffs. Just in my career, much less yours. What Republican was pro-tariff until Donald Trump told them to be? Now, what Republican's anti-tariff? I haven't met one. They do what they're told. The Democrats fall in love, the Republicans fall in line, and you're going to see a wonderful object lesson of that fall in line in mid-September here along the Missouri River.
Is Scott Vaughn. This is Wake Up Missouri. Peter Thiel, John Marsh in for Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell. I think the other note is I just have found, though, that there's always, especially in the Senate, and you obviously are hanging out with these people all over the place, it's who can mess this up? Where's Mike Moon?
Mike Moon will be for this, I think. Now, there's a couple folks that are known on some days to chart their own path. Most of the time, that's because they have a problem with leadership over something or other. I think, Mike Moon's the type of guy that's got the backbone to stand up sometimes. I've seen no indication that any Republican is going to stand up and oppose this. I've seen every indication they're going to privately say, gosh, this is stupid. I can't believe we're doing this. and they're going to do it. I mean, the argument the Democrats are going to make is we are a 42, 43, 44% Democrat vote in this state, and that is true. The Republicans have about the same in Illinois, and they got totally decimated by redistricting. The Republicans get about 38% of the vote in Massachusetts. They have no representation. So the truth is, this is a childish game. It's a stupid game. This has nothing to do with anyone in this state. This is totally at the behest of the Washington folks and what they need and what they want. But the Democrat states, I hate to say it, but as childish as the debate is, the best argument for this is they started it, and they did start it.
Yeah,
the Democrats complaining about it are total hypocrites.
No, correct. Scott Fahn, Missouri Times on Wake Up Missouri. I think the other question we have is that now this is going to be the veto session as well for what the governor's vetoes are. What else will be done when this special session is called?
Well, there'll be three things. We are going to roast Senator O'Laughlin on Monday night, a veto session. Tuesday night, there'll be a lot of fundraisers. High Street will be packed. If you just want to come have dinner on High Street, don't do it the Tuesday night of veto session. It'll be totally packed out. Wednesday, they'll go in. They won't override any of Governor Keogh's vetoes. They'll gavel in and gavel out. It's their constitutional obligation to come in and at least pretend they considered the vetoes. They probably won't. Then the Senate will be going to committee and putting this map through. This will go on the floor. My assumption is they will give the Democrats 10, 12 hours to complain, and then they will PQ the Democrats, which means ending the free and fair debate of the Missouri Senate. The Senate will become just a smaller version of the House. They'll pass it, and I assume the House members will be all too eager to come in. It is more ran by suburban interests than the Senate. It'll do this easily, but I would assume they'll come back in the following week and rubber stamp what the Senate's rubber stamps from Washington.
Well, it's going to be interesting to go and watch and see how this plays out. Again, I wish the legislature would pay attention to actual things that Missourians care about, but that's just me.
Well, Peter, I love a dreamer and I love an optimist. I think they have done some things this session. The capital gains tax cut, I think, will help. I think it may be the benefits will be front loaded, but this may be a time when you need them. Also, the budget. I mean, you're going to have to make some tough decisions. You're going to keep cutting taxes. The COVID money allowed everybody to live in this dreamland of we can keep cutting taxes and we don't have to cut expenditures. Well, I think the bills do. It was a little short-sighted. I think now the cuts come, and Jeff City is an easy place to be. The air is light. The pizza over there's pizza tastes better. The flowers are in bloom when there is money, and when there's not money, this is a cold town when there's no money. And I think we may be seeing for the first time in almost 15 years a town with a Jefferson City without a budget, or where there's a budget that has to be cut. So those are going to be the things that you'll hear folks talk about privately. Publicly, this will be a big Republican rally. I assume they'll accomplish their goal pretty quickly, and then they'll move on to Missouri's problems, unless the Washington, D.C. folks tell the Republicans to do something else. Then the Republicans here will do whatever they're told.
Very good. Scott Fahn, you have a great week. Thank you very much.
You too. Good to talk to you all.
Yep. It's Scott Fahn with Missouri Times exclusively on Wake Up Missouri, right here on the Zimmer Radio Network on great radio stations like KWOS, KWTO, and 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up, it's, Mike Pence, would you please shut up? That's next. Coming up on Wake Up Missouri, exclusively right here on the Zimmer Radio Network.
You're listening.
John Marsh, Peter Thiel were in for Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler. Stephanie returns tomorrow. Randy gets back on Thursday. All sorts of good fun going on. By the way, if you've ever wanted and just had a desire just to text the show, you can at 573-874-9395, 73874-9390. Mike Pence has crawled out from his bunker and says, Pence says Trump needs to bring hammer down on Putin with immediate new sanctions. Okay. Mike Pence, of course, said this on CNN. I have lost a lot of personal respect for Mike Pence. A lot of personal respect. I had a long time respect for him. It's gone right out the window. I thought he was an amazing governor. I thought, okay, not Captain Charisma. It's not charismatic at all.
Yeah, when he was named as a vice presidential candidate, everybody went, who?
Well, I knew who he was, and I know why Trump nominated him originally. Nominated somebody because there was the thought that Trump needed somebody who was a conservative stalwart that would bring in the conservative and the Christian evangelical vote in to be with Trump.
The heartland.
Yes. And Mike Pence is not very exciting. Not that we need our vice presidents to be exciting. I think I think that Mike Pence is a capable man. My problem with Mike Pence is that I just think that he is ridiculous and that he's not that important anymore. Just go off and become a college professor, work at a think tank, and disappear.
Tour, yeah.
Yeah, and just disappear. I'm sorry. I don't want this. And Mike Pence, he actually ran for president thinking people were interested in him. I don't know where he met those people. He just needs to shut up.
I think Jake Tapper's bookers need book somebody else, maybe.
It's just insane. Trump's trying to get this negotiations done between Putin and Zelensky. I want this war to be over with in the Ukraine, as I've stated before on this program, Wake Up Missouri, is that a land war in Europe is never a good thing. And why and how this is not expanded so far is an amazing thing. Generally speaking, they expand. And I'm a big fan of history. I believe history repeats itself. I think you have to watch what history does. And my concern about this is that we are going to see a bigger conflict if this doesn't get settled and settled sooner. And Vladimir Zelensky has to be realistic, as well as Vladimir Putin. They both have to be realistic. But in my opinion of looking at this, it seems like the Russians now have the advantage over the Ukrainians. By polling that has come out saying that 61% of Ukrainians want this war over tomorrow. They want it done now. So the Ukrainians are losing their gumption, which is not good. And the Chinese government, the Iranian government, the North Korean government have all been at Russia's side on this, helping out in one way or another. While we have been sending, and the Western allies have been sending arms to Ukraine, we're not sending our own soldiers to be on the field, which is what has happened with North Korea, China, and Iran. They have had people in country helping out. Now, how active on the front lines? We know some North Koreans have been on the front lines. But again, This is just not a good thing. It's not a helpful deal for Mike Pence to be out there screaming about this stuff at this point. Let Trump do what Trump is doing. Let's hope this gets solved. I want this war to be over with. I think you do as well. I think everyone wants this over with. Let's get it done and go from there. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri. John Marsh and Peter Thiel in for Randy and Stephanie, who, again, they'll be coming back together exclusively right here as we look forward to that right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. And we're very, very fortunate to be on great radio stations like KWTO, KWOS, and 93.9 The Eagle. And I think that's awesome. So, yeah, Mike Pence, shut up.
But
Please
the
shut
only
up.
thing he did say in his weekend talk show appearances was he supports the president's move to call the guard up in D.C. It was like, well, it's nice of you to say that, but does anybody really care, like you said, what Mike Pence has to say about much anything now?
Yeah, he has no power. It's he's not going to be the next presidential nominee for the Republican Party. That it's essentially like bringing on Al Gore to talk about what's going on in Iran or the Ukraine or whatever. Al Gore, no one calls him anymore. No one brings Al Gore flowers, and that's sad, I guess.
It is sad, especially for the guy who invented the internet.
I know. It's I caught, by the way, speaking of former vice presidents and Al Gore, I actually saw, of all things, I actually saw a TED Talk with him where he was talking about the end of the planet because of climate change. Mm-hmm. But Al Gore was talking about majority of scientists say, yeah, except he's not naming scientists. He's not naming evidence. He's just blurting out crap. Al Gore's terrible, too. Maybe Al Gore and Mike Pence can live on an island together. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network. are listening to Wake Up Missouri. It's Stephanie Bell and Randy Tobler are off today. Stephanie will be coming in tomorrow, mañana, and you get me tomorrow with Stephanie. And joining us right now is our guy John Marsh. I'm Peter Thiel. Now, Ukraine. There's going to be this big meeting today with Trump, with European leaders, and Volodymyr Zelensky. One of the things the left-wing media has brought up that, quote-unquote, the European leaders are coming to protect Zelensky from Trump, which is the most crazy thing in the entire world.
From being bullied was their line.
Yes. Here's the
Margaret
deal.
Brennan's line on Meet the Press.
Yeah, I will just tell you this. Do you want this war to go on, or do you want this war to be solved? And in my opinion here, I want this war to end. And it's going to be a negotiation where both sides will lose. That's the way this works. Whenever you go in, and so whatever thing that you're buying or business decision you're making, or maybe a conflict between you and your wife, if you have a debate over thing, there's a fundamental difference on a subject matter, whatever it may be. And anybody who's been married, you've had a disagreement with your spouse. And it doesn't mean that your spouse is a bad person or you're a bad person. There's a disagreement. It could be over kids, money, whatever.
Give and take.
Give and take. Well, you make an agreement, whatever that is. And it shouldn't be, yes, dear. It should be, well, no, if we do it like this, we're in real trouble. A real discussion. Not everybody getting everything they want, but making a compromise that works out and people can agree to. That's what it should be. Zelensky, from early on here, does not seem like a guy that he doesn't seem like a guy right now who wants to make these agreements, even though some of the statements coming out are a little softening of his position.
Well, something we pointed out when we had the same discussion with Randy a while back, or right after when Zelensky came in and kind of got in the shoving match with the president and J.D. Vance in the Oval Office, was that the point I pointed out was his mastery of the English language is not even passable on a good day. I mean, obviously his English is a lot better than my Ukrainian, but I don't have, the fate of the world in my hands either. And, he got into it with Trump, and you wonder sometimes if that's where he was going or just couldn't convey himself well.
I think at that point, Zelensky thought the position of the United States would remain consistent to supporting them with a blank check. And all of a sudden, Trump is saying, hey, we need to be repaid for this. How are you doing it? Are you giving us some mineral rights? It's a negotiation. I'm sick of the United States writing big fat checks to all around the world where there is no payback, where there's no win for the United States. When you spend money in your home, you go out to dinner. Well, you're spending, you and your spouse, if you take the kids along, you could be 200 large into this, depending on where you go. And not necessarily even at that great of a restaurant. You can be at least, for two people, you can be at the $70 level, and that's not even digging into drinks or anything like that.
That's the pizza place.
Yeah, so it's when you have people that are forking out that kind of money, and doing that, well, you want something back for your money. Donald Trump asked Zelensky, well, if we're going to continue giving you a blank check, what do we get out of this? What's the win? Because if the thing is that the United States just has to continue spending money on a war that does not have a lot of personal interest for the United States other than allowing a free nation like the Ukraine to remain free. And quite frankly, this again is another reason to show you why the United Nations is such an inept bunch of morons. The United Nations technically is to keep these things from happening. And the United Nations has been a feckless, flaccid organization having to do with stop some of these skirmishes. The only thing that you can guarantee from the UN, you can only guarantee with the UN is that they are guaranteed to say something anti-Semitic and not stand up for Israel and not stand up for the United States. They will go out and they will make all these things. The United States has been paying the bills of that organization for eons.
Oh, yeah, we've heard it, like you said, the Gaza, genocide in Gaza, the Israelis going into Syria, and that's just the recent stuff.
Yes. No, it's nuts. We live in a nutty little world here, Mr. Marsh. I think the national debt is becoming one of the biggest federal programs that we have in the United States. What is it? The interest payment was the third largest government program.
Yeah,
that's not good.
The interest.
The interest. It is highly problematic, and there are two ways to deal with that: is stop spending money and cutting money where you can. And the United States, we don't like cutting money on how much our government spends because Democrats always go out and say something crazy. But soon, if we don't change our ways, the national debt will be our biggest government program. And that's not good. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for any person on from there. And to write a blank check to the Ukraine or do any other skirmish around the world, what's the payoff? What do we get? I want to know what we get from our investment. I want to know what we're getting for some of our national defense projects and foreign aid projects. I want to know what our return is.
Well, that's been the argument years and years now, and like you said, with the UN being ineffective, the U.S. has become the de facto world policeman of the U.S., like it or not.
Yeah.
Of the world.
And that's really not what we should be. And the United States, we've been more than happy as a country to go out and do all this aid and all this stuff. And a lot of times for countries who hate our guts. Absolutely who hate our guts. And part of that is why are we giving money to people who hate us? I don't get it. I personally think we should cut off all aid to the Palestinians. They hate us.
Yeah, they don't want any part of us.
Yeah.
And then we've got the whole European Union saying, and Australia and all, well, we're going to recognize the Palestinians. We're going to move them there.
Yeah, it's...
the Arab nations in the Mideast don't want them.
No, the Arab League just went out and did a big statement against the Palestinians and Hamas. It's the Palestinians just seem to have the only people that seem to be behind the Palestinians are either Palestinians, Iranians, or white leftists. That seems to, if you find a white leftist college professor, I guarantee you they love themselves some Palestinians.
You know what I think we should do? I think we should build a cube in Australia, and I think if we build it, they will come get the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip and all of that. They'll go to Australia. It's already kind of a penal colony, or was at least, and there's so much room there that we could do it. I think that's the play.
Yeah, here's the problem. is
There's
that
deserts in Australia.
the Palestinians only have one goal, and one goal only is to eradicate Israel. And if you believe the Hamas charter, is to eradicate all Jews. That's their goal. That's their end game. It is the Gaza has no interest in it whatsoever. They have no interest in peace, which is really too bad. And I have spent time around Palestinian people. Very sweet. There's a restaurant I like going to. It's run by Palestinians. Couldn't be nicer folks. Now, I have not told them that I'm pro-Israel, but spending time with these folks, yeah, they're terrific. And of course, they've been in the United States for some generations, so I don't think they're necessarily in the, I hate or I'm on board with Hamas. But it's going on from there. A lot of times also is that people go out and they don't understand the logic of the Palestinians and why they do what they're doing. And that's highly problematic because it's just, they're not looking at peace. And the American left and these European bozos need to also keep in mind, there are a lot of Palestinians who live in Israel, who are citizens of Israel, who are serving in their parliament, which is called the Knesset. There are Muslims live and are able to practice their religion, be open about who they are in Israel.
Yeah, there are even Palestinian volunteers in the IDF.
Correct. You are listening to Wake Up Missouri on three great radio stations, 93.9 The Eagle, KWOS, KWTO. John Marsh, what do you have for us, buddy?
When the F-15 pilot says, "Don't touch that."
That's next, right here on Wake Up Missouri.
This
for this.
A ground mishap at Barnes Air National Guard Base in Westfield, Massachusetts was likely caused by the unnamed backseater accidentally triggering an ejection from an F-15 Eagle. After the plane had landed, video showed a puff of smoke and eventually the backseat passenger crawling along the runway next to the aircraft, gathering up a parachute. The canopy then landed on the plane's wing. 104th Fighter Wing released a statement saying, yes, one service member was taken to the hospital for evaluation. The other, presumably the pilot, had no injuries from what they call a 0-0 ejection seat designed to safely extract a pilot from an aircraft at 0 altitude ground level and 0 airspeed, as in parked on the runway. So we reiterate, when the pilot says, don't touch that, maybe don't touch that.
Good idea. Good idea all the way around. It's a heck of a deal. The pilot tells you to do something, do it. You see, when you're on a plane, generally speaking, if they give you a direction, you sort of follow along. You don't get lippy, and you just go from there.
What's this do?
It's you don't touch things you're not supposed to touch. It's a heck of a deal. It's a very, very simple thing to go and be able to take on. It's just follow along and be nice. I like that a whole lot.
An ejection from modern fighter aircraft is about as violent as it gets, you know?
Yep.
Because ejection seats are powered by a rocket motor. That's why they're 0-0, and they can go from 0 to real quick, sitting stationary on the runway.
Yeah, by the way, I want to bring up, I'm concerned about Ella Emhoff. That's the daughter of Dougie Emhoff, the woman assaulting husband of Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Ella suffers from something called climate anxiety, John. And
a lot of that going around.
And and apparently it's almost like crippling her. And this is kind of the death cult that the left has given us over climate change. Humanity cannot control the weather. Just can't. Now, pumping extra carbon in the atmosphere, does it have an effect on the general weather and climate? Yeah, it probably does. How much? I don't know. It's not 100%. If you look it up online and you sit there and say, okay, what percentage of any type of climate change is based on human activity, you'll see, quote unquote, the greatest scientists, the greatest minds, quote unquote, who say that it's 100%. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth, because we cannot and we do not understand it. We're in a 50,000-year warming pattern on planet Earth. Very little to do with human beings. There used to be, in fact, where we are in Missouri, we used to be under a sheet of ice. That disappeared, and it had nothing to do with people starting up the Chevy. Nothing to do with it at all. We've been on a warming trend. The other little note here by these people that are freaking out over this is that every prediction, I saw a meme, and I haven't followed up to see if it's, to confirm it, but it's probably right, that the climate alarmists have said the end of our planet. They've made predictions, over the last 60 years, and they've been wrong every time. Get something right, everybody. You want me to fall into your climate anxiety claims? Get something right. One thing. That's all I care about. One thing.
The big thing about Ms. Himoff and the whole story about, like you said, the gloom and doom, she's going to die because of the climate. There's a suggestion for you. Move.
Yeah, it's go to Mars. That's the beautiful thing. You are listening to Wake Up Missouri on KWTO 93.9 The Eagle and KWOS on the Zimmer Radio Network. KWTO, and of course 93.9 The Eagle. I'm Peter Thiel, along with
John Marsh.
the Marsh Man. We got producer Drake here. It's all good. So we're now getting closer to legalized gambling in the state of Missouri. And again, I'm not a huge gambler. I'm not a guy who goes on junkets or anything like this. I lived in a state recently that had legalized gaming. I opened an account and made 0 bets. Zero. Why? Because it's just not necessarily my deal. I'm not a big gambler. But it's been legalized in Missouri. Missouri's going to do whatever we can to slow roll this. They're saying now that day one will be on December 1st.
That's it.
And so we'll see how that goes in. They've approved 2 online gambling things having to do with DraftKings and Circa Sports. FanDuel, which is one of the big ones, has not been approved as of yet. They must negotiate apparently with one of the major teams, with one of the professional teams.
But what they call an untethered license, which was kind of in the weeds, but basically means they're not affiliated or don't have to be affiliated with any kind of actual brick and mortar casino, as opposed to the virtual variety.
Yeah, and again, this is something voters voted for. The setup of this, I'm sure, is going to be kind of screwed up because this was set up by professional gambling interests. That's who put together the initiative petition. That's how it got done.
That's it.
The Missouri legislature, realizing that this was likely to pass, did what Missouri's legislature always does: nothing. Instead of making sure that the general public wants this. I may not be that excited about it, but it should be under the state purview instead of initiative petition in the Constitution run by the gambling industry that's already there. That's the problem where we're at.
Then when the problems arise, if there are problems, then you have to go back to the drawing board as opposed to just the next legislative session.
Yeah, because essentially you have to go back and perhaps do a follow-up initiative petition to change some of the deals. And as we've learned in the state of Missouri, that is not necessarily a guarantee for passing, even if there is a real reason to go through and do that. It's a real issue. There's been a lot of concern over initiative petition about changing the rules of what passes. Right now it's just, 100,000 votes, 50,000, one vote, that wins. And they've talked about changing it to 55 and 60%.
Two-thirds and all that.
Yeah, all that. Here's the answer. I don't care. Just get it done. The legislature seems to be moaning and groaning over this thing instead of just going and putting it on the ballot and getting it done. And 2/3 is not going to get done. I think 55%, I think 60% makes sense on these things. But again, it's I've learned with these initiative petitions and things like this is that frequently these are used as excuses for legislators to avoid making tough decisions. And that's part of the problem, is that, let's just put it up for the vote instead of just going in. Missouri could have had the weed thing straightened out, could have had the gambling thing straightened out with the legislature. You didn't need to have initiative petition on either of these issues, but that's what happened. And they're both fraught with issues, with problems. And again, if you want to smoke weed, fine, I don't care. If you want to gamble, fine, I don't care.
If you want to smoke weed and gamble, we don't care.
Correct. I just don't care. I just think that there's enough people in this state that wanted it that the legislature should have actually been listening to the people and put in policies that can easily be amended if they're bad. Now we're stuck with bad, run by the industry type things that are in the state constitution that are almost impossible to amend. That's the problem.
That's the challenge, as we've seen with Amendment 3, the vote on making abortion illegal in Missouri.
Correct. It's
or legal, as the case may be.
Yeah, just depending on how you want to look at it. So that's where we are on that issue. Circus Sports and DraftKings apparently have been approved to be your gambling platforms online.
Untethered licensees.
Yes. Just makes, again, how complicated this becomes is just, it's ridiculous.
Needlessly so, because it's been so shaken out in the states that have had it for a number of years. Couldn't you just follow the lead of State X that's been through all of this?
We have two neighboring states that are run by conservatives. You have Arkansas and you have Iowa that have legalized sports gaming. And I'm sure both of those states have made mistakes. I'm sure they've done some stuff well. Let's just learn from them and go from there. I don't understand why this is such a difficult deal to go. And again, I live 10 minutes away from a casino, and I went 0 times. I'm not a huge gambler.
I'm not at all anymore. Was at one time, many moons ago.
What'd you play?
The Bones. I was a craps guy.
My old man was a very, very good blackjack player.
Card counter?
Yeah. He was a card counter. He gave, though, real rules when it came to gambling, about what he does. My old man's line was, you go up to the table with whatever you want to lose for entertainment purposes in your left pocket. You put everything you win in your right pocket. And when you're out of the money in the left pocket, you leave.
Pretty sound logic.
Yeah, it's just you walk away. And the other lesson my dad gave me is that if you're going in to play blackjack or whatever it is, and let's say you're on a lucky run, don't accelerate your bets. Make the same bet every time. Because one of the problems that happens for a lot of people who end up having gambling problems is they end up chasing their losses.
That's it. And they go all in.
Yeah, and all I need to do is win one here and have a big turnaround, and I will be great. Again, it's if you want to go to a depressing place, go to a casino. We were in Vegas for my big brother turned 60 earlier this year. So my siblings and their spouses and I showed up to Vegas for a nice 3-day weekend. I bet a grand total of $10 in the slot machines. Why? I figure if you're in Vegas, you got to, maybe do that once. And I was there for about 20 minutes. It was fine. It was a nice time. And once I was done that, it was over with. I didn't need to gamble. And but a lot of people obviously have gambling issues. They have real concerns with it. But at least for me, that's not a big hairy deal.
That's good because it can bite you.
Yes, yeah. No, if you know these people who go and chase their losses and all sorts of stuff.
For sure.
And if you want to know who the real people who do the majority of sports gambling are, 18 to 34-year-old men.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the game is. That is where They do more bets than anybody else. Now, the office pool, like for March Madness and stuff like that, will I fork $10 into that and play that? Sure.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Sure.
Everyone does.
That's a fun thing with the coworkers kind of deal, as opposed to, you think you're going to get rich quick off.
Correct. It's I have no problem with that whatsoever. But when it becomes legal, will I make a sports bet? Well, and living in a state with a legal thing and with an account, I made zero. And I probably won't make any bets. The one thing, though, that I will give this little tip about, here's what the apps want you to bet on. They want you to make parlays, like an 8-leg parlay.
Oh, sure.
And because one of those will lose, and that's good for them. So there you go. You are listening to Wake Up Missouri. I'm Peter Thiels, John Marsh. We're in for Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell. And coming up, we'll get a look at Wall Street, the Morning Bell. That's
talk about
next.
Your prop bets, huh?
Yeah, talk about prop bets in the market. You're listening to Wake Up Missouri on the Zimmer Radio Network.
You're listening.
Wake up, Missouri. No Stephanie Bell. You get Peter Thiel, John Marsh. Here's what's going on with the markets. Futures are a little bit of a mixed bag. Dow Jones Industrials are up barely, with the NASDAQ futures and S&P 500 futures down. Another interesting story, young adults, people in the Drake age group in their 20s. They're dumping friends if friends' social costs are too expensive. You know, people want to go on those 4-day ski weekends, all that sort of stuff that a lot of people can't afford, or it's just dragging out a lot of stuff. That's what's going on right now with that. Today, the market's watching carefully with the Vladimir Zelensky meeting with Donald Trump and the European leaders at the White House, hoping to finally have peace secured in Ukraine and in Europe. That would be a great thing all the way around. Very, very important as we look at that. Your cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is down 1.5%. Ethereum is down 2.96%, or just shy of 3%. Shiba, your Shiba Inu coin, is off 3%, and Doge is off 4.75% today.
Do they say anything about the recent passage of the Genius Act and all that having any bearing on any of that because of the Treasury Department?
As of right now, there really has not been a movement on it. Bitcoin has been around $100,000 a coin for some time.
Yeah, 115 today.
Yeah, and it got up to like 120, 122, somewhere around there per coin. There was a long period here where you could buy and sell Bitcoin on a regular basis. So it would go from 30,000 a coin up to 65,000 a coin. Then it would drop. And there were a lot of people that were, once it reached the pinnacle, that were selling out and then waiting for it to get around 30, then buying in again and just doing that rinse, repeat, and do that. Again, a lot of times with the cryptocurrency, people are looking at that as a normal investment instead of going into the stocks, going into different things that grow through. What I have found now that cryptocurrency has reached a certain amount of maturity that's almost like gold and silver, that it's a great hedge against inflation. There's a certain, it's basically working like a precious metal in many ways. Your stock market is still your best way to go and buy in and do that. And there's so many different options to be in, whether you're a small, medium, or a big money trader. You can certainly be in and grab. What I end up doing, I'm with one of the online stockbrokers. They actually have a program where you can throw in $50 and buy 10 stocks, slices of stocks, at minimum of $5 each. Kind of a neat thing to do, and that's usually a better return than what you'd get on cryptocurrency, unless you have a thing. And again, I have invested in crypto. I own some crypto. It's perfectly fine with me. I just don't necessarily look at it as the quick way to get rich that it was if you got into Bitcoin when it was trading for nothing, and all of a sudden you threw in $15,000. You're a billionaire today.
Yeah, theoretically.
So again, I think that we are going to be at a place with, the market. I think that we'll begin to see some real growth if there's that chance for peace today. And I'm all in on peace with Ukraine and Russia. And again, it's a little bit of it's a non-winning thing because no one's going to be completely happy here, but that's what a negotiation is. Just get with something that people can live with and move along. It seems like by all polling that we're seeing out of Ukraine, that the Ukrainians want out of the war more than anybody else. So We'll be following it all day right here on the Zimmer Radio Network. You are listening to Wake Up Missouri, and coming up, the Taylor Swift tax. It's on its way, and I'll explain right here on Wake Up Missouri. John Marsh, Peter Thiel in for Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell. Stephanie Bell returns mañana. So it's called the Taylor Swift tax, John Marsh. And this is the wonderful state of Rhode Island. Some of the communities are doing this to go off and tax vacation homes worth more than $1 million extra. They want to get them extra. Here's the problem that these blue states are missing out on. A lot of the wealthy are moving to places like Tennessee. They're moving to Texas, Florida, Arizona, Nevada because of lower taxes. North Carolina is among there as well. State of Missouri should be in that group. We're not yet. Beautiful place, beautiful state. Would be great to bring people in that are high-income people to build businesses for our communities to become even more prosperous. It's the aggressiveness that these blue states, they're throwing a tizzy trying to tax more and more and more. And they're going to continue losing people. California's having real issues with it. New York is having issues with it. New Jersey of losing people moving to states that have a better business climate plus tax climate.
You wonder out loud in the state of Missouri how well that kind of maneuver would be received by one, the Lake of the Ozarks Chamber of Commerce, and then the folks Branson, Table Rock, and down that way. When you find out, oh, guess what? You get to pay another 10% more on your vacation home property.
Well, and I look at this as, for the state of Missouri, a unique opportunity to go and attract new businesses and high-income people that will invest more into the great state of Missouri to make sure that there are jobs and a growing economy. A growing population is a very, very good thing. And Missouri is a very attractive place to be. We have two major cities. We have the Lake of the Ozarks, Branson. But Missouri's a beautiful state to be in. It's a gorgeous state. And the idea of being more aggressive with our economic development, aggressive in sort of the growth, well, that begins with the state cutting some of the some of the wasteful products and also going in and cutting taxes down to nothing. Texas doesn't seem to be having a problem, everybody. Texas, they just figure out how to lower taxes every year.
Tennessee, same boat.
Yep, same boat. And it's and if you go to those states, they're booming. And that's great. That's fantastic news. Because if you're not booming, you're in trouble. It's like any state, any economy. You're doing two things. You're either growing or you're shrinking. It's like a muscle. And
or you're flat on a good day.
Yes. And so, and the deal is if the state is not growing, if your community isn't growing, if it's not growing at a certain percentage point every year, well, the problem is, and the problem will become, like it just happened, what in Mexico just lost their distribution, what for Lowe's or Home Depot, lost about 80 jobs. Well, you should be always refilling those jobs. There always should be new jobs trying to attract because somebody can leave tomorrow. And a business that's been in your community for 30 years can leave tomorrow.
Easily go offshore like we've seen so many of them do over the years.
Or go to, they may be an older facility that needs to be, it's actually more effective to move to a new facility than retool a factory that's no longer efficient.
Yep, build a new one with the incentives presumably in another state where they would love to have you bring your factory complete with robotics.
Correct. And so anybody who lives where there's been a major employer, and this really hits some of our smaller towns in Missouri, can really hit all over. There's a lot of smaller towns that have one, cornerstone employer. There was that story out of McDonald County in southwest Missouri that their big employer was Tyson Foods. It was the place that kept that community moving. Well, all of a sudden, Tyson Foods announced they were closing that factory. Well, that community's dead. There's nothing else there. That's completely over with. So you always have to be looking at what the next job is, what are the next factory, what's the next facility to go and attract. That has to be the first thing out of any of our political leaders' mouths of what to go and grab. And so you have states now that are doing, quote unquote, the Taylor Swift tax to go out and tax people who have a lot of earnings on a vacation home. Well, here's what happens if you own a vacation home and it's over $1 million. Well, that thing ain't sitting there and not helping the economy because there's power going to it on a daily basis. People who have those very nice homes, they're paying people to go into that even when they're not staying there.
Sure.
They're paying people to mow the lawn.
Cleaning crew.
You're having yard maintenance. You are having, especially Rhode Island where they get winter, you got snowplow people coming in and out. Lots of people are going in and out of that house all the time. That's employing a lot of really nice people that work in that community. Now, if all of a sudden you're pushing people away from having that vacation home and having that extra domicile, well, they can go somewhere else.
Yeah, who's buying the boat from the boat dealer?
Yes, you can go and buy. You can go and be in a number of different places around this country. Don't need to stay in a place like Rhode Island. New York, they're talking about doing, if this mom Donnie wins election for mayor of New York City, which seems very likely at this point, they're talking about cranking up the taxes on, quote unquote, the wealthy. Well, that's essentially going to hurt the poor because a lot of the wealthy, they can move. If you're a poor person, you can't afford to move. You are stuck where you're at. It's that's just the name of the game. And if we're not paying pure attention to what's going on with the economy, overtaxation, lack of planning, a lot of stuff, I still look at Missouri as a high tax state, mainly because how they get us in all these different ways, from sales tax to property tax to income tax. There's just a number of ways that we get taxed in this state, and it's highly problematic.
Well, then you see the spinoff of it, and we look towards the plants that have gone away. You're talking about big ones, like the Fenton plant from when it was the huge Chrysler manufacturing plant for decades and all, but even closer to home, mid-Missouri's AP Green fire brick plant in Mexico, Missouri, owned by Kit Bond's family and all, that also closed up. I think they had a Haynes plant up in northeast Missouri that employed people, and Nordine and some of those that have gone away, never to come back again.
Yeah, you're listening to Wake Up Missouri. It's John Marsh and Peter Thiel in for Randy Tobler and Stephanie Bell. Stephanie is back mañana. That's tomorrow. And you'll want to be a part of that. You can always send us a text. And I kind of like the text that we receive at 573-874-9390. That's 573-874-9390. You can also check out the socials and like the Wake Up Missouri page. If you haven't done that, you need to. It's a great deal. So leftovers are on the way next with John Marsh, Peter Thiel, producer Drake, and the entire great state of Missouri. Yes, we've got it coming for you next. And that's at 8:50 right here on Wake Up Missouri.
This
waved at me, but he didn't pot me up, and that's bad. Winners and losers, Peter Thiel and Jean Marsh, who now told me, by the way, that he only wants to be referred to as one because he likes the Spanish people.
The Spanish band leader, one more time.
Yes. All right, John, what are your winners and losers?
Well, not the most positive report card out there. A 2025 Wallet Hub ranking shows the Show Me State 51st in the country for public school safety for the second year in a row. And this comes despite Missouri finishing 33rd in overall school quality. And this kind of coincides with the kids all going back to school this week, the ones that haven't already.
It's almost national average. You know, once you get to 25%, you're average. We're just a little below that, and nothing wrong with that.
And no smart devices for the kids in the classroom unless it's the one the district has provided for you. Your cell phone and tablet and all need to stay locked in your locker, and that includes lunchtime, too.
By the way, this is the time of year we get the phone call at the radio station, guaranteed every year, that one of our local schools will have a kitty litter inside. You've gotten those calls. If there is a kitty litter in your kid's school, tell your kid to take a picture of it and text it to us at 573-874.
They can't.
9390. Don't worry, they're carrying cell phones.
Yeah, got the stealth smartwatch, right?
Yeah. It's send us a picture of the kitty litter in a classroom. I want to see it. Mr. Producer Drake, what do you have?
I have some football news. Well, our Chiefs lost again to the not again to the Seahawks, but they lost again. They've lost both their preseason games. I wouldn't think too much into it. I mean,
it's a practice game. It's meaningless. Wins and losses in anyone who's betting on those preseason games, you're on crack. There is no. I mean, you can lose all three of those, then go and win throughout. It's basically making sure that you have your team's spots all figured out. Coach Andy Reid, I have faith in him.
Yeah,
and
well,
your stars aren't all beat up from the preseason.
Yeah, especially with an older team like this is.
Yeah, it was really fun, though. The game was a great watch. I mean, watching Sam Darnold sling the rock, it's always a good time. But we have the Bears coming up, which I believe is the only home preseason game. Am I correct in that? I believe that's our only home one.
I think you're right.
I think you're correct. I'm just ready for regular season football. Bring it on and go from there. Loser. What do you guys have for losers? And I'll give you what my winners and losers. You have any losers?
The Bills did.
Yankees beat the Cardinals. The struggling Yankees beat the Cardinals Sunday.
Well, the Bears won their preseason game. They kept the Bills to 0 points, and we're playing them next. And, you know, the day the Bears win is a bad day for everyone.
All right, so the Chiefs play the Bears, and that'll be good. So let's see. Here are my winners and losers. He's now turned into the world's oldest boy. I don't know if you can call him a boy. Leonardo DiCaprio, famous for dumping girlfriends once they get to the age of 25. He's now dating a 26-year-old and has been for some time now. And
he's the king of the world, after all.
Leonardo DiCaprio said, chronologically, I'm 32. Makes sense.
He could even switch careers. He could be a head coach in the NFL.
Correct. And so, so that's what's going on from there. That makes him a winner, and a loser going on as well is Eric Swalwell, who is a complete and utter tool of the communist Chinese government after dating Fang Fang for a bit. And he is going to go, he's going to fight the Trump takeover of going after the Trump takeover on redistricting.
He couldn't be from the state of California.
Which is really crazily written. It's those districts are all over the place. You look at Illinois, you look at Massachusetts, you look at Maryland. I mean, my goodness, those are all over the place. But, it's Eric Swalwell, who, for whatever reason, I think still has grandeur in his eyes that he wants to be president of the United States. And that's just never going to happen. So he's the loser. He's a huge loser.
Wasn't he originally from Iowa? I think he was. I don't think he's native to California. I think he came from Iowa.
Well, it's you're trying to make him seem worse.
They ran him out of Iowa and chased him to the coast.
Yeah, it's and that area of California that he represents is part of the East Bay. Fremont, California is famous for that. Remember that solar boondoggle of the first Trump term, Solera or something like that?
I think
that was based in Fremont, California.
I think a certain guy who makes electric cars has a big plant in Fremont as well.
Yes, I think he took over that plant.
They did.
And Fremont, by the way, here's another little trivia thing for Fremont, California. Highest population of Afghanis in the world outside of either Afghanistan or Pakistan.
I have a lot of family in Fremont and Contra Costa County out there, so yeah.
It's a good time. It's Alameda.
Yep.
They're in Alameda County.
Well, the next one over is Contra Costa.
Yeah, where the Contras are.
That's
All right, coming up, the Gary Nolan Show. The Gary Nolan Show, that's next. And thanks for listening to KWTO 93.9 The Eagle or in KWOS. We appreciate you, and especially you and John Marsh and Drake Whitman for putting up with Uncle Peter. You have a wonderful day.